What's up? If you're here on this channel, there is a very good chance that you are looking to become a freelancer so that you can work from home or perhaps anywhere in the world. Today, I have a very special guest and we are diving into all things graphic design. So make sure you stick around. What's up and welcome back to Free Mama TV. My name is Lauren Golden. I'm the founder of the Free Mama and the Free Mama movement. And today I have my friend and student and extraordinary graphic designer, Karla, here with us today to talk about all things graphic design, brand identity, and kind of how you can use your creativity to build an entire business that supports your life, which is really cool. So Karla, welcome to Free Mama TV.
Hi, Lauren. Thank you so much for having me here.
Let's dive into what the heck is brand design. I want to just like hit it out the gate. If we're talking about how to use graphic design as a brand designer, what are we actually talking about?
Of course. So brand design is the visual parts a brand has that makes it unique and stand out. A brand is a very big word. A brand includes like your messaging, your tone, your values, but really brand identity design is just the visual part. So think about like the colors that you use in your brand, the typography that you use, your logo, the photography, any patterns or illustrations that are used within your brand, that it's brand identity design. So I guess a keyword to understand what brand design is or brand identity design is, like it's visuals, the visual parts that you can see in a brand.
Do you have a favorite brand that you like to use as an example when you teach brand design of either like what to do or even not what not to do? I don't know. Do you have any brands you can come back to over and over again?
Target. It's always like the brand that I always mention and like go back to, you know, how iconic it is. Like if you are like at a shopping mall and you see like a red card, you already like most people will think like it's a Target card. Because like now we have this association of those red cards being Target, or you even see like the bullseye. It doesn't even have to say Target, and you know it's the Target, like the Target logo icon. Target does such a great job on like using their brand identity, even like on the ads. If you pay attention, like how they are very dynamic and how they use a bullseye within it and the colors and the typography, it just feels like Target. So I always go back and mention about Target, even a good use of brand identity to design. It's also Starbucks. They even have started using their logo without the typography. You only see the mermaid logo icon. It means that they have positioned themselves so well through the years that they can just go along without even having the name. And people know it's Starbucks.
Yeah, that's so cool. So this is what you actually do with the clients that you work with. Now, did you know when you started in graphic design that you were going to have this focus on brand design? And how can an aspiring graphic designer, what should they start thinking about? What are kind of those first steps to building a business actually doing brand design?
I did went to school for graphic design and I learned graphic design, and my favorite projects were always brand identity projects where we get a brief and we will get like, okay, you're going to design for this restaurant. This is the type of clients that come to the restaurant. And I really love that process of creating something from nothing, like from a brief, so those were my very favorite projects. And I worked for corporate for over 10 years. And even though like I work for amazing brands like HGTV, Food Network, Travel Channel, you name it, like really great like cable network channels, my favorite projects were the ones that I had the creative freedom to create like a brand from scratch. So like if it was like a company event that I would be able to create the logo and the whole brand identity, I would rather do those kind of projects than do the brand projects, because the brands already had a style guide. So a style guide is a book or a PDF that contains like the assets, the visual assets a brand has, like their logos, their colors. So someone else had said those already. And I'm like, no, I want to create those. I want to be the one who create those style guides. I remember I was in the company, had this kind of like speed dating, but it was like mentoring. And I will feel like so stuck. And I remember telling a friend, like saying like, well, they're asking me like, whose job you want to have? Like, who should we introduce you? Like, what do you want to do next? And I'll be like, I don't want to have anyone's job. Like, I love designing. My boss, who was a creative director, he was still designing. I'm like, I want to do what we do, like design. And I was sharing this with a friend and she asked me like, well, specifically, like if there's something that you would like to design forever or just like one thing, what would that be? And then I said, well, logos and brand identities. So that question was like a catalyst to be like, okay, yeah, you love to design, but what specifically is your biggest interest? But I never knew of anyone or agencies that would only do that. And later in life, I found out that there are other brand designers doing that and making like those offers. Later, I learned that there are agencies that only specialize in logo design and brand identity design. That's when I just decided, I'm like, I want to do the same.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because there are so many different things that you can do as a graphic designer. If you think about, I mean, anything you get in the mail, from a flyer to a, decorated envelope to things we see online, like everything was designed somewhere by somebody. But this is a really specific niche within graphic design where, like you said, you get to start kind of with that blank canvas and then some of those thoughts and feelings and emotions and ideas from your client. And so let's talk about that, because being a freelancer, you've got to find clients. So what types of businesses have you found out there that you've been able to work with that are interested in hiring a brand designer?
So I specialize in small business owners. So those who are starting a business and they don't have a brand identity and they know they want to get it right. So be able to get a professional looking brand that really attracts their ideal clients. Or those who have already gotten started, and those are my favorites, like that just went all scrappy and let's just get the business started and then get it to a point that it's like, okay, now we're ready to take it to the next level. We need a professional brand designer to take or vision like into the next level by looking more professional, by really aligning the quality of their work, either product or service, to their brand identity. So that's who I specialize with. But I also do other kind of logo design work for other like agencies. Even my previous employer hires me to create show logos for the network channels. I think like that's a very important thing about like being known for something specific. Because like now, I mean, they know if they need a logo, it's Karla who they go with. But really, like, their business owners are everywhere. Like people are opening business every day. So the help, it's needed. So it's always like, it's a job that it's always on demand.
So let's talk about these business owners, because some of them are not creative like you are. I would be one of those people. So I do not make pretty things. And sometimes it can be hard for people to know exactly what they want or to be able to articulate that vision. So can you talk to me a little bit about like, what does your interaction, like what is your, besides, we'll get to the designing part, but what does your client interaction look like as a freelancer doing brand design? How do you extract that information from a business owner to make sure that what you deliver is actually what they're going to love and, feel happy that they invested in?
Of course. So there's so much pre-work that gets to be done before we even start designing. I would say it all starts with jumping on a consultation call, like where they fill out a form on my website where they just feel like what the information what they're looking for. If there's like a logo design or brand identity design or brand and website, and I get to know a little bit about them. I do ask like for links if they have them, so I go study whatever they already have, if they have something, and then we jump on a call. Hopefully, like most of the time, I already have some information about who they are, and on the call, I get to know more about, like, I like to ask them like, what's not working right now? If they already have something, like I want to know like what's not working and why is that they need the help. And once they move into becoming a client, I do like I share about like the importance of brand identity design. I have a short presentation that I show like by sharing my work. I have like a fun interactive like game that shows like how brand identity design impacts the feelings and perception of a brand. From there, I also have a questionnaire that also digs deeper. Like, okay, like there's a question that it's key, and that is like, what are 3 words that best describe your brand? Because I want to make sure that those 3 words are translated in their brand identity somehow, like through the use of fonts, the colors. We want to make sure that those portray those feelings. So all this is done like through design psychology once we move into the design, but it's all about like doing all this research. We also do visuals, brainstorming. I use Pinterest with my clients and we collaborate in those boards to understand where we're going visually and also where we're not going visually, which is key to like where we're not going, like what is not going to work for that brand.
Yeah, it takes out a lot of the guesswork. So talk to me then about once you do the pre-work, which obviously we see why that's really important. In my past career, we worked with graphic designers, and I think some mistakes that I think that can be common with new designers is not having like boundaries in place and setting those expectations. And part of that comes from not doing the pre-work. So how do you do that with your clients? Specifically, you know, I've seen Free Mamas post in our Facebook group about like, they deliver something and the client doesn't like it, and they don't have anything in place around like how many they were going to deliver, how many edits they're going to do, or what if the client changes their mind? Like, how do you handle that part of being a business owner as a creative?
You know, the most important thing is communication, being clear on like what is what you're going to deliver. For example, if I'm doing like just logo design, which is rare that I only do logo design, because like something that I try to educate is like your brand is much more than your logo, but just to keep it simple, like, and this is on my website exactly what they get. Like, so they get the primary logo, they get a secondary logo, they get a brand mark. They also get it in all these different files, an EPS, a JPEG, and a PNG, and these different colors. So be very specific of what they're gonna receive, and then also put that in the contract. In the contract, I also mentioned like you get 2 rounds of revisions. Be specific, like what are those revisions? For me, it's like revisions are like changing the font, changing the color, changing the concept. It's a different concept, so that is charged separately. That's like a new concept fee. I also let them know like you get 2 options, so you only get 2 options to choose from. So if they want to see a third one, well, that will be billed separately. Also be very clear about like your payment plan. So for example, for me, I always do 50-50, 50% before we start the project, 50% before I deliver the files. So that way I am safe, like, and I know that I'm being paid before I even like receive deliver the work. So it's all about just being very, very clear about what it is. And then like if something comes up, like a question like, well, I want a revision of like, I want you to do like a new logo icon. I can go back per our contract. A revision, it's only change of fonts or change of colors, but I will gladly be able to do another concept at this fee.
Yeah, really, really smart. I'm obviously a big fan of communications, expectations, and boundaries. So I love to hear that you were upholding them as a designer. Let's talk about the actual like design process. Like what tools or software do you need? How long does it take you to do certain things? Like there's like the client facing work and the prep work, but what does your actual process and work look like as a brand designer?
So when it comes to the design process, so we've done already all the homework and we have all the visuals. And then I feel like the design part, it's less time consuming as the other part, because like it's really a lot of research and getting to know the brand. Also the delivery feels like it's also more like bigger legwork than the design itself. So but when it comes to design, what tools that I use? So I was taught in the industry standard Adobe Illustrator. When I got laid off my corporate job after a merger, I was like and at that time Adobe was now a subscription, not just like a paid one-time fee. I was like, okay, now we're on our own to pay for our own software. And a colleague of mine mentioned me about this software called Affinity, and he had tested it and tried and said like it was amazing. So if Jim said it was amazing, I'm pretty sure like it was. So I had all this spare time while I was unemployed. I'm like, okay, let's try this Affinity thing. And I just fell in love with it. So the software, it's called Affinity Designer, which is the equivalent of Illustrator, but they also have the equivalent of Photoshop and InDesign. And I love the software. I thought it was even in many ways better than Illustrator and more precise. They don't even have an affiliate. I tell everyone like and their moms that they need to try Affinity Designer. So that's what I use right now, like in my business and for my clients, and to do all these brand identities, I use Affinity Designer. When it comes to the design part, fonts play a very big important role in graphic design in general. So one of the things that I invest a lot in my business is buying fonts and knowing that there are buying a new license for every client. So licenses and fonts are really important in the industry. We need to make sure we have a license that we own the fonts, but they're also free fonts for commercial use. So it's all about like reading the fine print.
Do you have a favorite place where you go to get those?
Yes, I do. do, if they're paid, which like if they're paid, they're more unique. So that's a good thing about paying for a font. My favorite place is Design Cuts, and I can share the link with you and the audience. And then for free fonts, Google Fonts. I actually always try to give one Google font for my clients, at least like to use for body copy. Those are for free for commercial and personal use. So yeah, I would say those are my two favorite places. When it comes to like color plays a big role. So there are like many assets that we can look for inspiration to make sure like the color combinations using color psychology. Like if you Google color psychology, you'll understand like that colors play a big role in the perception of a brand, to make sure we are choosing the right colors for the right brand. Same for typography, like the types of fonts that we use also tell the story. So it's really brand identity design. It's both a science and an art. I will say it's much more than a science than an art, because it's like formulas, kind of like, okay, like this colors portray these emotions, this fonts portray this emotion. It's not a decorative thing. It's not just making art for art's sake. It's really solving a solution.
Yeah. For a business, a brand design has to be effective. It can't just be pretty.
Exactly.
So we'll tell people here in just a second, next steps, if they want to be able to learn more about what it takes to be a brand designer and the psychology and all of these things that you're talking about. But I have a couple more questions. My first is, what is the hardest part about being a brand designer?
I guess it will be the confidence in oneself on the work that we're doing, especially if we are working alone. After working like in different like groups, like in corporate and then also in the agency, you have people who you collaborate with and people who helps you get feedback. So I think that will be the hardest thing as a brand designer if you're working on your own. So I would really recommend just surround yourself with other creatives who you can share your work and ask for feedback. I remember in school also having resources that you can use for inspiration, but also know what are the good resources. I remember in school a time that our teacher said like those who he would see that they were looking at design books. So it's not just about looking at online like Google logos for inspiration, because like not all graphics out there are good design. Exactly. So those who are looking at books on design and getting inspiration of quality design will produce a better work. That is helpful if we're on our own, like and we don't have people to just help us all the time. There's like all these resources out there, but then I would always recommend like surround yourself with other creatives so you can just bounce ideas on and off and just get feedback on your work.
And I know you have a free Facebook group, so we will drop a link to that for anybody who wants to join down in the comments below. My last question is, what is the best part of freelancing as a graphic designer working in brand design?
For me, it's like being part of someone else's dream. That's my very favorite part. It's just like entrepreneurship is hard, and just having someone take the leap of faith to start a business and knowing that you're part of this dream, for me, that's just everything. Like it's so special, just supporting like small business owners from another small business owner, and also the collaborations and just friendships that you end up making with your clients. I think that's my favorite part.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh, there's been so much helpful information. I learned a lot today. I loved this. So what are the next steps for anybody who's interested in learning from you how they can dive deeper into the world of graphic design, specifically learning about brands and brand identity?
For years, I've been wanting to do something. Like I learned so much from my years in corporate, my years in the agency world, and then also being a freelancer myself. I came to realize that there are many things that they don't teach us in school, especially like how to make money with our craft. And many things I just learned by doing them and putting myself out there. I learned a lot from you, Lauren, about like networking and getting to, like sharing with others about what you do. So I wanted to create something because I learned that it really doesn't take someone to go to graphic design school and be able to offer brand design services, especially because I also saw other people that didn't have degrees and that they were putting themselves out there and creating businesses because they had the confidence or I would say the bravery. They were brave enough to just put themselves out there and even know that they don't have like a degree, but they had the passion for it. So I saw those things that I'm like, okay, if I can help other people jump all those years that I did, like as a trial and error, like going to school and learning how to make a business out of brand design, I would love that. Like that would just be like something that it would lift my heart and also it's part of like a legacy because my dad was an educator. And after he passed away, I learned a lot of his role as an educator that I didn't know before, how much he impacted other students' lives beyond the education. And I was like, I want to do the same for others. So I created a course that teaches someone who's interested in brand design, learn the theory that they need to know, because they don't need to know all the history of graphic design. I just donated my history of graphic design book because like this is like not very useful. So I just consolidated that really the important things that they need to know to be able to create logos that really are strategically designed. I also teach the software, Affinity Designer. So, and then the next module is bringing A and B. So now we have like the theory and the tools, how to get to start designing, specifically a logo. And then from the logo, like create a brand identity. Now that you have that, it's like, okay, now how do you start making money out of it?
How do you get people to pay you?
Exactly. And also something that I learned along the way by doing this on my own, it's presenting. How do you present your work to clients makes the whole difference from being a low-paying designer or a high-ticket designer. And for me, I think like the presentation, it's key, like how you present your work, and that makes all the difference in the client experience. So because I've been there, like I first started just sending like a JPEG on an email as an attachment, but no, there's like better ways to do that to get the client be part of the experience and for you to be able to back up your work. And then I do share other bonuses about like my experience doing this, as well as like how to work smarter, how to work with clients as well. Because I think like that it's something that no one could have taught me like very well until I put my feet in there and work with clients myself. It's called Brand Design Love Academy, and it's an 8-week course. I'm so happy to be able to have students go through it and have amazing wins, from having like very low pay projects to 2,500 K projects doing brand identities.
Yeah, what I love is not just how talented you are as a designer, which I think anybody looking at your work can see, and you can teach those concepts. But like you said, there's this kind of like starving artist mentality that a lot of creatives have a hard time getting the marketing and getting the sales part so that it can be a lucrative and really satisfying career for you, but also make a really big impact for your clients. And I love that you have created this and brought it into the world so that you can help other creatives achieve what you've gone on to achieve since you have started freelancing full-time as well. So we'll put the link to that program down in the comments below. Karla, any parting words before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just that word that you just said about talent, and there's something through the course I like to add like some like inspiration quotes, and there's one that like it's so important that I share there, and I might be butchering the quote, but it says like talent, it's something that you can build. You don't have to think like I cannot do this because I'm not talented. And I mentioned about like talent is something that it can be built by doing the work, by practicing really. So it's not like it's so easy for some people to feel defeated and say like, well, she's talented and I'm not. I was not born talented in brand design. It took me a couple of years, and I believe that it doesn't have to take all these years to get to that point.
That's awesome. So if you want to move faster and you have an interest and a passion and you're looking to cultivate your talents as well, again, check out that link below. Also, make sure you go join Karla's world, join her Facebook group. And of course, make sure you are also a member of the Free Mama community so that we can support you in all of your work from home dreams. As always, make sure you're subscribed right here on Free Mama TV. And if you have any questions for me or for Karla, make sure you leave them down for us below. We'll come check in and answer those as well. And now you know how to become a graphic designer doing brand design. Karla, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Lauren, for the opportunity.
Awesome. We'll see you guys right here next week. Hello. Just you and me. Just kidding. All right, sit here and talk to myself. This is why I always have outtakes, Karla, because I'm like, I'm a ding dong. What else do I want to say? In Facebook group. Did I tell you I ordered a couch? That's all I think I want to say.